STMK Radio 100. You're listening to Stop the Madness, Keep It 100 with your host, Sean L., Let, and Tone the Stone on STMK Radio 100.
Yes, this is a PSA, a public street announcement. You are now listening to a Kickback production. Light up your L's, lean back, and listen.
Tonight, we're going to go back into the city of East Cleveland, and we're going to talk about an environmental nightmare, the East Cleveland Dome. You're going to hear from activists and residents who has to live with this every day in their own words.
With the federal agencies, and the federal, EPA says, that they keep checking with the state agency who says they have jurisdiction. And they said, we're sorry to hear, what's going on. We keep checking. They say it's in compliance. They've given reports about when the, investigators have come. We talked about when there was known compliance issues that were occurring that they said were corrected and whatnot. So what I wanted to do was come out and get a better idea of it so I can pass it along to the federal EPA.
Well, see, the EPA that we call for the county of Cuyahoga and everything, they come out here and they cite him for different things and everything. Why can't, when they find something wrong, just shut him down?
Yeah. I don't know why.
It's like a pat on the back.
Right.
I've been here about 45 years. I'm overjoyed. However, I know that it's going to blow over here, and probably we're going to get more sick. But you know what? At least people in the future and in the neighborhood, maybe we save somebody still.
Another thing, every time somebody come out here that is something from the EPA or the government or county or something like that, he take them in his little office.
Okay.
Then when we get a report from him, everything is okay.
2014, I didn't have cancer, but I was one of the ones out there picketing and in front of the dump all the time. We were all getting sick, but we persevered. And so then now I have breast cancer, and the girl next door has cancer. The guy 3 houses down has cancer. The lady across the street 5 houses down, she passed about a month ago. It's been bad. So we can't be out here even joyfully now because we know that we'll keep getting sick. So we've been in hiding, and we must remain in hiding.
But our mayor and all of city council signed the permit for this guy to put this here. Now, every one of them is in violation of the Residential Act. You're not supposed to have any kind of dump site within 1,000 feet of residential area. They tore down a perfect good building. A perfect good building.
When it rains, this water, this rainfall goes into the drainage system.
And it's lower than the property.
So this stuff leaches. So this stuff leaches.
All that stuff runs over here.
Yeah.
And then that goes into
it goes into the wastewater system.
Right.
And
right
another thing,
right over the easterly.
If you go out here and walk over to all the drains down to the bridge, they're plugged up.
No,
they don't wash their trucks.
After.
They don't wash their trucks with mud on them and everything. They bring in contaminated dirt from wherever they tear a house down, and they bringing it over here, and it just they don't clean it out.
And I was told that there's asbestos back here, but they can have a limited amount of asbestos. Well, now, what is the limit? Nobody knows what the limit is.
So you can kind of see what's going on right now with the dump. So, not only are residents faced with contaminants that are part of the wood and the other materials, the toxic materials that is in here, now they're faced with another contaminant, which is the smoke that is coming from the materials that we already had a problem with. So this is a big concern for East Cleveland, and this is a time where we really need to demand them to get this out of the city. It wouldn't be happening anywhere else. It's East Cleveland, so they think that, you know, we really don't care about what's going on out here, but we do. So I'm encouraging everyone to, you know, voice your opinion, call into the city of East Cleveland, call into the Cuyahoga County Health Department, call into your fire department, and demand that the money be put here in order for these residents to live in a safe and safe environment away from harm.
Because it took them more than 6 months. It took them 3 years to get it back there. Now all of a sudden they're going to get it out in 6 months. Is terrible. From 1 to 10 is 15. And this is what we breathe every day.
We have not had any chemicals that have exceeded any health-based levels, so there's no evidence that anyone has been exposed to any dangerous chemicals.
Jim Riffle put together back in January, on January 11th, and I believe it was a lot later than that, but afterwards, the information that was shared with the residents, the report that Jim shared indicated that there would be the possibility of fires at that particular location. And so now that the fires have occurred and we are now dealing with that, now let me just say this. Jim did not just say that fires would occur. Jim indicated that fires had already occurred. And I want to go into some of this information so that as you all who live near that area, who have to deal with the impact of the fire from the Noble Road dump yesterday, as you live in that area and have to deal with the impact of the dump, there are some things that you need to know, and I want to make sure you have that information. So let me just tell you right off the rip that everything you're being told right now by the City of Cleveland and the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency that the air quality is safe is a lie. The air quality is not safe. What the City of Cleveland and the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency has done is simply taken samples of the air after the fire.
Welcome tonight with us on Stop the Madness, Keep It 100. Hey, Facebook Live, YouTube, Snapchat, SoundCloud. Thank you for being with us in our 17 cities. LA, San Francisco's in the house, Atlanta's in the house, and DC. Hey, we welcome you to come in with us also. Cleveland's here on Facebook Live, and hopefully Tassie Hawthorne is with us too because we're going to run her commercial spot for us today. Tone, we're going to have some serious issues we're going to talk tonight. We're going to talk about the East Cleveland dump. We're going to talk about the Euclid situation. We're going to talk about the recent court rulings about RTA and law enforcement officers doing fair checks. Saxman, our man on the beat, supposed to be with us in studio. Hopefully he makes it tonight, but he's out in the field talking to people. And we're going to check with D-Knows and see what they're talking about in the chat room on our Free for All Thursday. And right now, Tone Stone, I want to say this right here. That East Cleveland dump has turned into a nightmare for the East Side. One thing that the one gentleman did say out of that report that there was already fires taking place there, and the air quality, yes, it's okay now because they took the samples after the fire took place.
Right.
I talked to a lot of experts and a lot of lawyers went over there. The problem is now is that not only they didn't take samples while the fire was burning to find out what was going up in the air, but there's asbestos over there. There's a lot of wood over there. Even secondhand smoke, which covered the whole east side. If you get secondhand smoke from a cigarette, it's dangerous. Okay, we're going to tell everybody about the Arco dump and how it became about. We're going to talk about that tonight because a lot of activists is in there, and the residents are catching hell. The property value's gone down. Some residents has died. For one little area right there, we're talking about maybe a 4-block area. You have had 8 people now that has been diagnosed with cancer. There's a problem there in the city needs to step up, and the state needs to step up and find out how many more people has been damaged by this and happened. Because at this point in time, Arco Recycling is an LLC. Once they file bankruptcy, they can walk away. That means the state of Ohio and the residents are left on their own. They already left the equipment there, so there's nothing to sell. Okay, it's going to cost the state of Ohio's taxpayers right now $6 million just to start the cleanup. We may be looking at $50-60 million to go back in there and replace the dirt and everything else in there. Okay, put the land back to use. Then what about the damage that was done to the residents and their health and to their properties? So we're going to get deep into that tonight. Facebook Live, I want everybody here to join in with us. I'm going to give you a number to call. I want you to, if you want to really watch our broadcast, I just got the list. We're starting our first day on Plink Inc. streaming TV, so we are now streaming live. If you want to see our live streaming, go to STMK Radio 100's Facebook page or Stop the Madness, Keep It 100 Facebook page. Click on that Ustream link and come right into Studio 51 with us and hear our internet radio broadcast. You really will enjoy it, and plus you get to see Tone the Stone and everybody in the studio. You won't be just looking at me while I'm talking about this. Tone, I want to say this right here. Arco, which owns the property, had received approval from the city of East Cleveland, which was a former manufacturing plant, which was the old GE plant. You know where that's at over there, okay? Arco had been recycling just enough material to get by the law, okay? Actually, it was a dump. But just to get by the law, they did a little recycling, just enough material to skirt up under the law. And this started all in 2013. Okay, people, we're talking now 4 years that this dump has been in existence in East Cleveland. The residents began to start complaining in about 2014. You heard from Harris Drummond. That was one of the gentlemen that was talking in the piece that we had earlier. You heard from Cassandra McDonald. She is the starting up the NAACP on the east side for the city of Euclid. She's an activist. She also ran for some office. Also, you heard from Jonathan J. Brewer, who had them do the test to find out what was over there and find out what was going on. When you look at all this, and we went back to the city of East Cleveland, We thought it was going to cost Brandon King his job. But with the city in such turmoil over there and nobody coming out to vote, we're going to talk about the voting later, which was really sad. You're talking about 18 to 20%, 2,000 people out of 25, about 12,000 people registered in the city with 17,000 people. You got 5,000 people they didn't bother to go and register to vote.
Well, that's just East Cleveland. I heard that statewide that it was less than 30%.
Well, it was 34%.
Okay.
We're going to talk about that. With all this going on, our community, we have to step up and start taking responsibility because nobody's going to look out for us if we don't look out for ourselves. So we have to make that step. But, Tone, you know, East Cleveland's mayor, Brandon King, said he was on council in 2013 when the proposal to give Arco Recycling the old GE plant came in, okay? He said he was thinking about a recycling plant that was going to give residents in East Cleveland a needed boost for property value and jobs for the city residents, okay?
I don't see how that gives how that boosts the property value having a dump, even though they're
wasn't a dump.
Well,
See, you have to understand it wasn't a dump or the proposal at the time. Okay, I can understand how this happened because Michael Rowley and other individuals have been dumping and doing environmental nightmares all over the city. Just going 131 and Kirby, where they dumped all not Rowley, but where other individuals dumped all that trash there. Look on Wayside when the guy rented that building and dumped all that trash there. Mm-hmm. There's lax in enforcement. The city of Cleveland do not have anybody out here enforcing commercial trucks or a commercial dumping license and all that. So it's a free ring, okay? Just think, if Cleveland's a free ring, you know East Cleveland is a freer ring. And if you on Facebook, go to STMK Radio 100, look for the pinned post, and it tells you how to see the shows. Click on the Ustream link, and it come right into the studio with us. You're open for Ustream. We broadcasting live on Pluto Inc. Television. We're not using Ustream, so we're letting everybody come in there for free. You don't have to get an account. You don't have to pay no money. So, Tom, when you look at this, he didn't really understand what was going on. I don't really think everybody realized what was going on. Some people may have. But what fell through the cracks was nobody was checking the hen house when they let the fox in. Mm-hmm. Okay? And this is the biggest problem. They sold the land for $125,000. This probably was about a $3-4 million property, okay? Because it stretched all the way from Noble Road all the way down to 152nd, okay? That's why the mounds of dirt are so high. If you're coming down Noble through East Cleveland and stuff, you can see the dirt. Mm-hmm. You can see the mounds. So when they put it there, King and the whole council, Gary Norton and Thomas Wheeler and all them voted this in. Okay, but nobody was there inspecting it. He got contracts from from the land bank in Colgan County Land Bank, and they started taking demolished houses there. Okay, then he started taking trash from other people. Okay, now we want to know where the liability lies. Okay, is the county liable for this contract? Is the dumpers who took trash there liable for this contract? We know Riley's an LLC, so once he filed bankruptcy, he's going to walk away. The question is now, is the state of Ohio going to go after him and hold him accountable? And that's what we got to ask everybody, okay? Some of the residents was told that all that stuff would be out in 6 months, okay? It took them 3 years, 4 years to put everything back there, okay? So that's what they living with, dust. You heard the lady talk about how she got diagnosed with cancer. Mm-hmm. You heard how the property value down. Now you got people that have died, and you got, in that little area, you got 7 or 8 people diagnosed with cancer. But nobody want to go help the residents, okay? And that's a shock and a shame when nobody wants to go help the residents of East Cleveland, okay? These people on Noble Road need help. I'm just going to call it like it is, okay? The former city government right there, it's a shame that only 20%, 2,500 people came out and vote. Okay, the whole city should be in uproar. That form of government has to collapse. Okay, if you live in East Cleveland right now, I'm just gonna have to say it the way it is. That form of government has to collapse. Cleveland needs to either step in and annex it, or the state need to step in and appoint a city manager to run it. Okay, because they have to make right those people there. Okay, and now we're talking about the whole east side. We're talking about South Euclid. We're talking about Cleveland Heights, Warrensville. Everybody's been put into that. We've been told by experts that when the fire started and burned for 3 days, it's not about what happens after the fire is put out. It's what happens before the fire and while the fire is burning. Now you have particles going into school buildings, ventilators, houses, cars, stores, restaurants, okay? And nobody even know those particles are there. So now you got kids going to Collinwood, uh, the elementary school, Euclid Park, uh, Cleveland Heights, Monticello. Those kids are going into these schools, touching the rails, touching the desks, touching everything that the ventilators and the air conditioners or the heat that poured in from the outside and put all over the schools. So now our kids are exposed to these contaminants. Okay, nobody's talking about that. Okay, nobody want to listen to Eric Brewer. Okay, and I understand why, because he's controversy. Okay, but we need to look past him, take that information and use it, because at this point in time, our kids are being exposed to contaminants. If you live in East Cleveland, you're exposed to contaminants. If you live down by the lake, you could exposed to contaminants. And guess what, people? The fire department put water on that fire for 3 days. That water is going into the ground and being evaporated into the air. Also, it's going into our sewer system, which is eventually going to be flushed into our drinking water. Okay. Now I know everybody say Cleveland got the best water in the world. Okay, and we got everything, and I have faith in our water system. But what about the people out east that have well water? Okay, that get their water from the rain. Or what about the streams? Everybody forget the Chardon River. Okay, all that's out here going east, and a lot of people are affected. And just because you're not sitting in East Cleveland, where you at the back door of this dump, you're affected also. So we all need to get together. We all order to demand that the city of Cleveland send in a team and the health department and everybody who's watching me on Facebook Live, watching me on YouTube, watching me on internet, listening to me on internet radio, listen to me on Ustream. As I told you to go listen to our internet radio broadcast on Ustream, click on that Ustream link and come in with us. You need to be calling the Cuyahoga County Health Department if you live on the east side of Cleveland. You have been exposed to contaminants. That dump burned for 3 days. There's no way they can tell you that you haven't. Okay? You need to go talk to people. They need to be having hearings. And the mayor, the county commissioner, our councilmen, they need to be addressing this situation. Our faith-based leaders need to be addressing this situation. This is a serious situation. It's something that we cannot pass by. As I told you earlier, the residents there. Now, I want to say this because the Arco recycling plant, Tony, has been a problem for years, okay? And it's been back and forth because of the activists and the problems in East Cleveland. Nobody really addressed the problem, okay? Finally, the EPA shut it down, okay? Because they said the owner was not recycling the debris, which was allowed to grow into mounds, masses, mounds and stacks of trash. Don't even think about the rodent problem that has to be over in there that is coming into our neighborhoods and everything.
So earlier you said that since they're LLC, they can file bankruptcy and walk away.
Right.
But there's no fines that they've been hit with over the years of allowing those mounds to pile up like that.
Well, this is the problem, and we got lawyers in the chat room that's giving us the things, and we like to welcome you two live and Russell Wilkins from LA. And this is the problem right here. Our LLC laws are made
to protect business owners. Okay, so you can only get out of the business what the business have. Okay, normally when the business file for bankruptcy, they can just pay the creditors with what they have or whatever they had in the business and walk away. Okay, that's what they've been doing. That's the problem with an LLC. It's a licensed liability company. You can't go up under it. Now, there's ways to go through the back door, but it's very, very hard the way the laws are set up. Okay, so at this point in time, they didn't file a class action lawsuit to lock in anything that the company had. So now you at the mercy to the company. The sheriff department has raided their office, okay, looking for criminal liability, okay. But when it comes to financial liability, it's going to be on the city of East Cleveland. And guess what? East Cleveland ain't got no money.
They don't got it.
East Cleveland today, East Cleveland is $2 million in the red. They have a $14 million budget, okay. If they're $2 million in the red come January 1st, we don't know where they're going to be at. We don't even know if they're going to make payroll next year. Okay, so there's no money in the city of East Cleveland to pay a lawsuit. Okay, the family where the policeman ran over the guy on and killed the guy, they're still litigating stuff. Okay, so if you win the lawsuit, where are you going to get the money from? So what the liability is going to come back on, and this is where the city of Cleveland is going to have to pay and get lawyers for a class action suit, because the city has a contract with the state of Ohio to do air quality. Okay, now the question is, and this is the question for the lawyers in the chat room, could the city of Cleveland stop the dump from going in? Okay, it's in another jurisdiction. If that city says yes, that recycling company can come in and it's our property, did the city of Cleveland have a veto vote in it? Okay, that's a question. Okay, now the other question is, did the state EPA fail? Okay, who you going to come and put the finger at? Okay, the EPA says, as you heard the one gentleman said, that no particles have been released. But we know just from the smoke of the fire alone, dangerous particles were released on the east side. So somebody's lying. Okay, now I'm going to go back to this and I'm going to say this, that yes, when they took the air quality right now, it is good. Okay, it is good. We on the lake. Okay, the problem is, for the 3 days when the dump was burning and the whole city and east side was covered with smoke, what was the air quality then? Okay, and if EPA and the state of Ohio and the city of Cleveland cannot answer that question, which they cannot, okay, because we asked them that, there's a problem. If you can't tell me what the air quality was when the dump was burning, okay, and what was in the smoke and being carried across the whole east side all the way out to Painesville, we have a problem.
Yeah, I can't tell them how to do their job, but it seems like that's you would take measurements before, during, and after, or not before because you're not anticipating the fire, but as soon as you get alerted, you would go take measurements then and then test the air afterwards as well. So I don't know like why they wouldn't even have tested it, why the fire was burning in the first place.
Well,
you know?
I'm going to say this again, and it's not an excuse, but it's a failure on our city officials' behalf, because guess what? Nobody in the community is holding our elected officials accountable. We're going to talk about that when we talk about Euclid. Same thing when they went to arrest the activists. We're going to talk about that. We're going to go deep into Damian Parker's arrest and what's happening there, because that's another problem with elected officials making bad decisions. And we're going to talk about that in the second hour, so I don't want to bring that back in here. But the EPA gave us a statement, and the EPA statement says they have not had any chemicals that exceeded any health-based levels, so there's no evidence that anybody has been exposed to any dangerous chemicals. Okay? That's what they keep saying. When they do the test or they come in there, there's no care. But let me go back to this, because somebody in the chat room just told me this, and it's a lawyer, that if there's asbestos on the property in the open, that's exposure of itself, because whoever tore that house down was required to go in there in a uniform and strip all the asbestos out, tag it, put it in special bagging, and then take it to a special dump. Okay, so right there, somebody violated federal law. Okay, how's asbestos laying out in the open in a dump? Okay, so that there, right there, is a good point from the chat room. That the city and the state wasn't following their job, and the contractors didn't do their job when they tore the houses down, and that you can hold the Cuyahoga County Land Bank for. The city taxpayers are probably going to be left on the hook for a lot of money. Somebody in the chat room asked, how would you determine how far the elevating stuff is? The city of Cleveland does air quality tests. They have one right there at the 5th District Police Department where they do it right off the roof. They have other air testers around. So they can tell the air quality all the way out to the state of Pennsylvania. They can tell where the electric plant is burning coal and is not washing their coal or whatever, just like they used to do on 72nd. So the city of Cleveland has the contract, and they're responsible for the air quality test in this section of the Northeast Ohio, and that's on the city of Cleveland. The EPA doesn't do it. The city of Cleveland does it. They have that contract. So that's why the city of Cleveland at this time may be a partner in a class action lawsuit. But when you have states, the county saying there's no danger there, it's going to be hard to come back, especially for the residents that has cancer. And when you're talking about 8 people in a 3-block area that was healthy, okay, and I'm gonna say this, healthy, and all of a sudden now they have cancer from living on the dump, breathing in these particles from the dust, and then the fire happened, which covered the whole east side. So I want everybody to understand this. If you on the east side of Cleveland, when that dump burned for 3 days, in the chat room we have inspectors telling us there was asbestos in the dump trash. That is a hazardous thing, and if anybody knows about that, you can Google it. When you tear down a house and it has asbestos or lead, federal law requires the contractor to pay somebody to go into that house, strip all that asbestos out. You need breathing apparatus. You need special clothing. You just can't go and get the asbestos out, and it has to go to a special dump. So if there's asbestos laying in the dump, then the residents on the east side of Cleveland has been exposed to a hazardous material, and asbestos do cause cancer. Okay.
So that's not only negligence, but that's also endangering people's lives for ARCO, for the people who are running this country, right? So you already said that they can file bankruptcy and walk away. They can, whatever they got, give it up and walk away. What's the likelihood of any criminal charges for that? Like,
well,
for
this is the
putting
whole
people's lives and safety in danger.
This is the whole thing that the sheriff department is doing right now. The sheriff department has raided their office, took their file. The sheriff department is looking at 2 things: if there's any white collar crime here. They're also looking at if they violated any laws. Okay, did they properly do the contracts like they was signed up? Did they rob the taxpayers? Because that was taxpayers' money. The Cuyahoga County Land Bank is taxpayers' money that the taxpayers paying them. Mm-hmm. Did the contractors who was hauling the debris violate the law? Mm-hmm. Did the contractors who was tearing down the houses violate the law? I mean, it goes up the ladder here. The taxpayers are going to be held and left high and dry. Okay, we already paying $6 million. Okay, I just told you about the schools that was exposed, the houses that were exposed, the home value that's going down because of this. Cleveland Heights should be yelling. People should be holding their elected officials' feet to the fire. Cleveland Heights, Euclid, South Euclid, Warrensville, Woodmere, Orange Villas. I don't care where you at. If you're on the east side and that wind blowing across the hill up there, away from the lake, you're getting it. Okay, you're getting debris that's coming. Okay, so I don't care if you out in Woodmere Village. I don't care if you're in $100,000 home. You could be exposed to dangerous chemicals. Okay, and that telling the community that we checked the air quality after the fire. Okay, yes, the air quality is good. Okay, that's the problem. And our question was, when we asked them, what was the air quality like when the fire was happening for 3 days? And nobody can answer that because they didn't check it. The first responders, let me say this right here to our firefighters and everybody that's listening to me. The first responders were exposed to these chemicals. They didn't have self-breathing apparatuses. Their air tank is not going to help them. Okay? When they say self-breathing apparatus, that's that spacesuit, okay, where all the air and everything is contained in you, okay? That's what we're talking about. Guess what, people? I'm going to shock you with something I'm about to say, and I want everybody to listen to what I'm saying. New York City has had 50 police officers die from being exposed to the fire and the aftermath of the building collapse, the towers collapse from 9/11 in 2001. 50 police officers or more illnesses have died. Guess what they was breathing in? All of that all that stuff, asbestos, smoke, fire, all that. So if it happened to New York City, over the cross of that, and first responders are dying from diseases and cancer that they have knowingly got from 9/11, do not think it cannot happen here in the city of Cleveland. Okay? That is the best parallel thing that we can put there with you. Now, Tone, a lot of people want to fight over this. You got the activists, they're fighting, the city's fighting. Nobody wants to take the blame for it. Brandon King, he won re-election. He was the councilman that voted for this area. He explained this thing. He won't go on the record, but I'm going to try to get him to come on the show and sit down and answer the tough questions, okay? Because this is the problem with Mayor Jackson and most of our politicians. They don't want to sit down and answer the tough questions. During the election, Mayor Jackson and a lot of the politicians, and we had some great politicians that came on the show, like Roland Mitchell, Curtis Orr, DeMar Sheffy. We had a lot of good politicians come on the show and sit down and answer the tough questions. And this is the problem with Mayor Jackson. He want to say how good he did. He want to say how everything is, but he don't want to sit down and answer the tough questions. Okay, and we're going to talk about that the second hour, because when we went to the city of Euclid, we asked them some tough questions, and they don't have the answer, and they have put this whole situation in a bad thing. But we're going to talk about that earlier. Right here, Tone, some of the stuff that they talked about that was blown up in the air can cause things in fetuses. Okay, for if you're pregnant. Growth and retardation, light birth rate, small head, low IQ, damaged DNA. All this can happen to a woman that is pregnant. So she needs to go and get checked by her doctor and get monitored, do blood tests and all that stuff also. And the residents, the lawyers in the chat room are telling the residents that they need to go right now, get a lawyer, sign up on a class action, and start the things, because the residents have to prove that their condition is caused by the dump. It's going to be too late if they clean this dump up for somebody to come and say this was caused. One guy, the activist Jerry Struthers, he was hot on this. He just passed recently, and he was on the show with us. And remember, he said that he got sick from being down on the dump every day, recording and interviewing and taking pictures and all that, and he couldn't talk, and he ended up dying, okay, early than he should have, okay. And go to YouTube and listen to some of Jerry Struthers' stuff. It's called the 4112 News on YouTube. Go there and listen to that young man and listen to what he's documenting, listen to what he's showing you and talking to you about, because you really will be outraged if you see that. Now, what we're going to do right here, we're going to go into the chat room, Tone and Stone, with Dino's. Unless you want to say something before we go in there.
Sure, I can say something. Just what I was thinking about when you were talking about the politicians answering the tough questions, and right before that, everybody trying to point the finger and not want to take the blame. I mean, we know where the blame falls. It falls first and foremost on ARCO, the to whoever was running that
but
company.
But you know what? I ain't
whoever's
gonna blame the
running that
company.
dump.
No, I ain't gonna blame the company.
It's first and foremost on them because they're responsible for it. So either they're negligent, maybe even criminally negligent, but then it falls on East Cleveland because they're supposed to be regulating them and monitoring them.
Right.
And it should have never allowed to get that far out
Right,
of hand.
right. That's what my problem is. I fought the city of East Cleveland government, the mayor, and every councilman, because even though it wouldn't have took nothing but 30 seconds to Google Michael Riley and all the companies he had, they would have known that there was a problem. Somebody did not do their homework, okay? That's the problem. Somebody didn't do their homework. Then they didn't monitor that dump to make sure that they was doing what they were supposed to be doing.
Right.
The EPA should have been monitored. The neighbors should not have had to complain about mounds and mounds of dirt. If you go down Noble Road, I want to say this to everybody living in East Cleveland, and you're in the chat room right now, on YouTube Live, Facebook Live. We have a lot of people in the chat room from Cleveland. If you go down Noble Road, coming off that hill, you can see the mounds of trash over the houses. I'm talking about mounds for miles. If you go down Ivanhoe Road, those mounds are towering over apartment buildings. I'm talking about 3-4 suiter apartment buildings. You can see the mounds like it's a mountain, okay? You couldn't tell the difference. You think you was in the Rocky Mountains, okay? That should have never happened. The city of East Cleveland should have been on it. The city of Cleveland should have been on it. Councilman Jeff Johnson should have been on it calling East Cleveland. Hey, what's going on? Why is this happening? Mike Palencia, he should have been calling East Cleveland. Hey, what's going on? Why is this happening? Okay. The senator, councilwoman, Marsha Fudge, they went to her 3 times. She has questions to answer. Why didn't she come down here and address this issue? Okay. I know why they didn't address the issue. I'm going to tell you why they didn't address the issue. Because it's in East Cleveland. If this would have been Rocky River, South Euclid, they'd
never even got
it
in
would
there.
never happen. Okay, it'd have been shut down. They'd had the police, first of all, stopping every one of those trucks, monitors trucks, make sure they got the proper license, make sure they got the stuff covered, make sure all that. They gave out so many tickets, they would have never been down there. I know because I used to do it when the complaints came from Eddie Road and when they started dumping trash over there behind the old factories. And if you go over there, it looked like 10 dumps. There are over 15 such dumps like that in the east side around the city, okay? That's why Cleveland started a dumping unit. And that unit is ran by Sergeant Izzo. That's why they did that, because there's so many dumping things. And Cleveland need to up that unit to fully staff it to 15, 20 officers and really get out here and do things. But right now,
let's go into the chat room and see what's going on with Dino's on a Free for All Thursday and see what they're talking about with the East Cleveland dump.
Well, Chanel, the chat room is on fire, and they're letting their opinions show. Peter, you can sue all you want. They will hand their corporate ledger with the worthless stock to do right, and all you get is a lawn chair and umbrella that was left at the entrance of the dump. Meanwhile, all those who dumped also get away with paying nothing. Zoe 1.0, we should say, Ohio sues ARCO for their dump in East Cleveland. Barbara 777 at Zoe 1.0. Maybe they are going to sue to clean up all of East Cleveland. Army Vet 95BV5 at Barbara 777. That would take a bunch of bulldozers and a training exercise for the CBs. Seriously though, how do you clean up a dump within a dump? I still don't get how the general public in and around that city even allow that stuff to happen. The state needs to take over that city. Wait, that description may be too polite. And level it. Straight _ talk. Empty gesture. Good luck collecting. Real deal 101. This dump would not be in Solon, Pepper Pike, Lyndhurst, Aurora, Westlake, and many other suburbs. Smoke is dangerous, and it can kill you before the flames. It is really sad all around the board, and it is truly an insult to your intelligence if you allow anyone to tell you that this situation can't possibly cause you harm. If secondhand smoke from a cigarette can possibly cause cancer or other illnesses, what the heck can this dump possibly cause? I see they are doing something, but this is not a situation in which we need to pacify the community. The smoke needs to be stopped, and the dump needs to be removed. Hashtag jail time of a change. Come on, people. This is a war zone. Residents are losing and being held hostage. Years from now, folks are gonna be dropping dead from all types of respiratory diseases and afflictions. My heart and soul aches for residents in my hometown. That area needs to be evacuated, banned, and deserted. BS Walks 9901. Flint has its water crisis and East Cleveland has its dump to deal with. But to have black folk in leadership that signed off on this mess and continue to act as if nothing is wrong, this is truly the sin. And we want to call out the people. On the lighter side, a lawyer defending a man accused of burglary tried his creative defense. My client merely inserted his arm into the window and removed a few trifling articles. His arm is not himself, and I fail to see how you can punish the whole individual for an offense committed by his limb. Well put, the judge replied. Using your logic, I sentence the defendant's arm to 1 year's imprisonment. He can accompany it or not, as he chooses. The defendant smiled. With his lawyer's assistance, he detached his artificial limb, laid it on the bench, and walked out. And that's what's happening in the chat room with Dee's nose.
STMK Radio 100.
Hey, where are you going, Jim? The elevator's over here.
Taking the stairs.
But our meeting's up on 8.
Yeah, I know.
But that's 8 floors up. That's like 8 times 8. A lot of stairs.
That's the point. I've already lost a few pounds and earned almost $100 in wellness incentives.
Whoa, you're getting rewarded for working out?
Yeah, I know. I'm just as surprised as you are, Bob.
Fearless is full of surprises. That's the power of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Federal Employee Program. Learn more about our healthy benefits and sign up at fepblue.org/chooseblue by December 11th.
AP Radio News. I'm Ed Donahue. A police report from El Paso, Texas, says Devin Kelly, the church gunman, was in a mental health facility in New Mexico and briefly escaped in 2012. KPRC-TV in Houston got the report. It also said Kelly had made death threats against superior officers at Holloman Air Force Base. That was the same year Kelly was convicted of assault against his wife and stepson in an Air Force court-martial. Meantime, Christopher Combs with the FBI says investigators have Kelly's phone, but it is locked.
With the advance of the technology and the phones and the encryptions, law enforcement, whether that's at the state, local, or the federal level, is increasingly not able to get into these phones.
It was a problem for investigators in 2015 trying to get access to one of the attacker's phones from San Bernardino, California. Pastor Mark Collins at First Baptist Church in Texas says people who are in the hospital are asking how the gunman's family is holding up.
I was just blown away. Here's a person paralyzed, maybe going to lose limbs, and they're wondering how Devin's parents are doing because it wasn't Devin Kelly that did this. Yeah, he was the instrument, but it it was darkness.
10 people remain in the hospital in Texas in critical condition. Ralph Northam is the Democrat running for governor today in the state of Virginia.
A lot of enthusiasm, and we're hearing that across the state, so we're confident that it's going to be a good day for Democrats.
He's facing Republican Ed Gillespie in a very close race in Virginia. Gillespie is being supported by President Trump.
Appreciate his support very much, and I know it'll help me be an effective governor for us as I seek to serve the people of the Commonwealth.
This governor's race in New Jersey between Republican Lieutenant Governor Kim Guadagno and Democrat Phil Murphy. The Trump administration is moving ahead with Obama-era requirements to post calorie counts in restaurants, supermarkets, convenience stores, and pizza delivery chains nationwide next year. This is AP Radio News. A recovery official tells a congressional panel Puerto Rico's debt recovery will fail without massive federal storm relief.
Natalie Jaresco, the executive director of the Puerto Rico Oversight and Management Board, says the island needs federal recovery funds on an unprecedented scale. She told a congressional committee Hurricanes Irma and Maria blew away Puerto Rico's ability to collect money.
The Commonwealth and its instrumentalities are facing billions of dollars in cash shortfalls just to provide the basic functions of government.
Congress has approved $5 billion in aid. There are estimates of more than 10 times that in damage. Jaresco told the committee the board had started to implement a 10-year recovery plan for Puerto Rico's crushing debt when the hurricanes hit. I'm Warren Levinson.
The state treasurer in California is recommending using armored cars to transport hundreds of millions of dollars in cash tax payments expected next year. With the state's legal marijuana market, there are fears operators could be targeted by thieves.
You want to know how to stop the madness? Listen to STMK Radio 100 and keep it 100.
Hello.
Hello, sir. I hear you having problems putting together your new kitchen unit.
Oh, yeah, the instructions say...
What now?
The instruction manual. It makes absolute...
Stop reading that.
Well, what would you suggest I use?
I suggest you use the fact you're a man. Huh? Guys who got pride never relied on no guide, sucker. I'll give you some step-by-step instructions. Buy Snickers, remove wrapper, bite chocolate, and get some nuts.
Go to GetSomeNuts.tv for more Snickers man coaching.
This is Tassie Hawthorne from sunny California, and I listen to STMK Radio 100. Stop the madness. Keep it 100 on Facebook Live.
It can be tough trying to promote your product or service in the world we live in. Countless hours spent spreading your message through signs, social media, and word of mouth, only to be received by few. What if there was a better way to promote your message? What if you could communicate directly to people through their Android phones? Well, now you can. Meet the Acervia Go. Think of it like a tiny beacon broadcasting to anyone who enters your zone, up to 100 yards. Promote your product, service, brand, or promotion using a preset 40-character message and clickable link to anyone with an Android phone and Bluetooth enabled. This message appears as a notification on their phone, just like a text message, Facebook notification, or any other alert. And when they leave your Acervia Go's broadcast zone, the notification goes away. How cool is that? Think of it as a time saver, a business booster, even a personal messenger, communicating directly with customers in the area with a custom message from you. The best part is, Acervia Go works, even when you aren't. When you're driving, eating, sleeping, or whatever you might be busy doing, the Acervia Go is constantly and consistently getting you and your brand or product out there to the people in the area. And you don't have to worry about battery life. The Acervia Go's battery lasts up to 2 full years. Think about it. What could this do to your sales? And how would this help your business grow? Considering that Android makes up about 60% of the marketplace and most people have their Bluetooth enabled, how many people do you think will receive a notification when they come within 100 yards of you each day? How about using multiple units to carry one with you or your spouse? Or having a stationary unit for your storefronts? Maybe a few extras to give to your employees? Acervia Go changes the game for you and your business. So how much are these little wonders? Glad you asked. Right now, Acervia is making their Acervia Go units available to the public with an introductory offer. 50% off. This is a limited time offer and your monthly pricing will be locked in at that rate. One unit, usually $49 a month, is now $25 a month. 3 units, usually $99 a month, is now as low as $49 a month. And 8 units, usually $199 a month, for you is only $99 a month. So, lock in your pricing now. How do you get these amazing Acervia Go units? Easy.
Visit us online today at www.acervia.com/universal ads. That's www.asirvia.com/universal ads.
You're listening to STMK Radio 100. Stop the madness.
STMK Radio is where it's at. They keep it real and get the public what they need.
About being anti-police. You saw the police you could believe, and you now know the ones you can't believe. And anybody who believes that all police are perfect, that they don't lie, that they don't have the same biases and racism that the rest of society has, is living in a dream world. So this is not for the faint of heart. This is not for the timid. As I said, this is for the courageous who understand what the Constitution is all about.
Deep down and dirty. You know, I like to tell people, you know, you want to get in the fire, but you're surprised that the fire is hot. It's hard work. It's hard work to get involved and do these things to try to make things better because it's hot in the fire, and people don't like to be hot.
On Friday night, Damian Parker was placed under arrest.
Hello, how you doing? What's going on? Hop around the car.
Multiple times as police were trying to serve a warrant, you can hear them say, "Get out of the car." Each time, he refused.
No, I'm not hopping out of nothing.
I get out the car and what? These guys jump on me or shoot me or plant something in my car.
From the beginning, you can hear tensions were high.
Don't touch my... All right, you just touched me.
It quickly escalates, showing a struggle, punches being thrown, Parker on the ground. But what police documented is different than what Parker remembers.
When you spent the better part of the last 2.5, 3 months trying to intimidate somebody or harassing somebody, and then all of a sudden expect them to cooperate with you, you know, because you want to play nice for the camera, that's not how it works.
The reason Parker was arrested was one of the reasons police cited taking caution when approaching him, threats on Facebook. Parker was charged with aggravated menacing for allegedly threatening another community activist. And in the report, Euclid officers explained that they knew who Parker was because of some of his Facebook videos containing, quote, threats against police.
This is the same stuff that it is they said to the FBI. The FBI reviewed it and said, no, there were no threats.
They also mentioned that his history of possessing firearms, his military training, and his failure to comply, it was necessary to protect the public. Now, Jeffrey Riley, Parker's sister, says he's never been a threat to anything but injustice.
He'll risk it all for anybody.
And Parker says that's what he'll continue to do, risk his well-being and his reputation for those who don't have a voice.
I'm sitting here, I got bruises on my face, my back's jacked up more, my legs messed up. It's gonna take me a while to heal. But while I'm healing, and after I've healed, if you think that that's gonna slow me down, you got another thing coming.
Now, Tone, welcome back right here to Stop the Madness from my brain. Gerald Hall, what's up? I'm glad you're back because we just talking about right now. We going into this Euclid, Ohio. Okay, you heard Damian Parker, you heard the police, you heard everything. I wish our law enforcement officer was here. First, I want to say Monday we went to Damian's court hearing. Okay, STMK Radio 100 news reporters asked the city the tough questions. Okay, I want to say this: Facebook can be your best friend. Social media, period, can be your best friends or your worst enemy. Okay. What everybody need to do right now is take a step back, okay? Because the community right now is gasoline has been poured down the streets, okay? And I'm gonna say this, and I said this the other day. The NAACP and all the other activists. First of all, it doesn't matter who get the credit for doing something. You cannot be arguing amongst yourself. This incident should have never happened, okay? You cannot fault the Euclid Police Department on this incident being started. Okay, we're going to go deep into this.
Right.
I'm going to say this. Damian is a vocal person. Okay, now the question is, did they violate his First Amendment rights by going on his Facebook page, looking at what he's saying? Okay, everybody got weapons they put on Facebook. Everybody talk what they're going to do, how they're going to do it. Okay. Did they violate his First Amendment rights? Now, Euclid handled a complaint from a Dr. Robert Montgomery, and it happened when we was there at Euclid City Hall. There was an incident, okay? And I'm going to say this for Facebook and everybody else. Quit doing rumors. There was an incident, an altercation. Somebody felt that their life was threatened. They went to the Euclid Police Department and filed a complaint. The Euclid prosecutor took a step further. I think that they all should have accused themselves from this, but the prosecutor did not issue a warrant. They went to a judge and had a probable cause hearing. A judge said there was probable cause to issue the warrant, okay? Now, this is where the problem's at, and I'm just going to say it the way it is, okay? I seen the video. Everybody else, the video's posted. You can make your own thing. If that officer, okay, when they put him out the car and he was face down on the ground, and that officer punched him 3 times while he was face down on the ground, if that officer was right in doing that with 2 other officers with him, then Michael Amiot got a bad deal. I'm going to say that, okay? They fired Michael Amiot for no reason other than to please activists. Because Michael Amiot did the same thing that officer did, okay? And he didn't have nobody helping him. It was him and the person that he was fighting with, okay? This other officer had 3 officers pinning this man down. I question those 2 punches. Yes, Damian did exactly what every other activist do, thinking that they know the law. When the police officer asks you to get out of the car, you got to get out of the car. It went to a new level. Everybody knew this was going to happen. Okay, you had to be Stevie Wonder. The day he stood in City Hall and called the chief out and told the Euclid Police Department was where he stood and what he wasn't going to do, and all the people were standing behind him, you knew right then the Euclid Police Department was more than happy to go serve that arrest warrant. Okay,
He was marked
right.
since that day,
and
especially after they fired their boy.
Right, after Amiot.
Nah, they definitely want some payback.
So if Amiot was fired for what he did, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to compare it right here, okay? he needs to sue the city of Euclid, okay? Because if Amiot was wrong for doing what he did, fighting somebody by himself, okay, and using force by himself, if that was outside the policy, then that officer who was on top of Damien throwing those punches with 2 other people on top of him is in the same boat that Amiot is. And Amiot needs to get that video, and he needs to sue the city of Euclid, get that video and show these officers doing the same thing I did, and this is the training that we received, okay? So they're going to tell me I'm wrong, but they're going to hold him responsible, okay? That's the first thing I want to say. The second thing I want to say is that this came out of an activist, and this is black on black. This is not a white activist. This is a black activist who's supposed to be on the same side Damien is, okay? I'm not going to question how he felt about his life being threatened or how he's going to say this, okay? I wasn't there. I would love for Damien to come on the show or sit down and call in and sit with us, because I have talked with Damien. The young man is grounded, okay? But maybe on some terms, he's not politically correct. He's a Donald Trump, okay?
Right.
He doesn't know how to express himself. But let me tell you this, people. Damien is a veteran. He went to war for us. He put his life on the line, and he went over to uphold your rights, okay? So this is a veteran, okay, who's fighting for justice, okay? This is not an activist that has not put his boots in the shoe, okay? So he's a veteran. We owe our veterans a little leeway. They was trained and taught to speak their mind, okay? They're trained to do certain things, okay? Now, the charges they put on Damien, I don't know if he has a CCW or not, but I think he got a weapon violation. That's an aftermath. That charge is going to get kicked out. Obstruction of official business is going to get kicked out. I seen the video, and I'm going to say this as being a law enforcement officer. There's no assault there unless the officer claiming that he assaulted him at the window of the car when he put his hands on him, okay? That's going to be dropped. Now, the aggravated menacing charge, he's going to have to answer for, and that's where everybody's basing everything. But I'm going to say this. The city, and I said this earlier, Tony Stone, our city officials and the city officials in Euclid are making bad decisions, okay? I'm pro-police. I'm going to say this. Everybody know me. I believe in giving our community the proper policing, okay? This saddens me where you have officers are now the criminals. You are now the bad guy. We have now returned to post-50s and 60s. We are in the Vietnam era of 1968 when the college students are fighting with the police. And if you remember, we did that show when the young guy said, I'm over in Vietnam and I see this guy hit my father, like it was the police officer, hitting the guy that looked like me. And his question to himself was, why in the hell am I over here fighting if they're going to fight at home and not going to support me? Okay? It saddens me that law enforcement has went to this. In Facebook Live and YouTube, we have a lot of police officers here. I know Euclid Police Department is monitoring this. I know that, Damien, I hope that you're watching, because this incident was escalating up, okay? Stevie Wonder seen it coming. I said it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen. And the problem here is where I say that city officials making bad decisions. The Euclid Police Department should have never served that warrant on Damien. I'm just going to say it point blank. Here's an activist that is in a situation with your police department, because all they did was now they made the image even worse for their police department. And now they have the community, the young males in the community, feeling that the police department is an occupied army and they're at war. They feel that if a police officer approached them now, their life's in danger.
They're in the business of retaliation instead of
But not even retaliation. They're on the line now that I may have to use violence to protect myself. Okay? Now,
well, I'm talking about the police. They feel
the
like the police are in the business of retaliation.
Right. And when they gave these two young men a ticket for spitting on the sidewalk, okay? The police chief needs to go into that police department. Well, right now, I'm going to tell you, the mayor needs to ask for the police chief's resignation. I'm going to call it the way it is. NAACP and the lawyers and all them right now, they should be asking for the police chief's resignation.
Well, I'm going to tell you, you know what? When I first saw that first video of Damian Parker after the arrest with Amiat, and he was in City Hall, and he was addressing the police chief. If I was a police officer working for the city of Euclid Police Department, I would have lost all respect for the chief right there. He looked like he was shaking in his boots, or he had no composure.
Well, you know what? It goes back to when I said our elected officials are making bad decisions. Number one, the police chief knew what he was going to do because he did it.
Mm-hmm.
He had his guys come in riot gear. He was going to clear the building, hook or crook. He didn't care if he had to beat everybody. But the problem was, and I'm going to say this, is that 4 to 1 of the people standing behind Damian were white residents of the city of Euclid. So on TV, you would have seen Euclid police officers beating or arresting white residents, and that was not going to happen under the mayor's watch. So the mayor made the police chief stand down and eat crow. Damian had the floor. Damian knew he had the floor. Damian knew what he was doing, and Damian took full advantage of it like he should have, okay? And he called ass, and it went viral to 20,000 people. Now, that was made a lot of people in Euclid mad. A lot of law enforcement officers got mad. And this is where I'm coming back to bad decisions by our elected officials. Everybody knew that Damian posted on Facebook that the Euclid Police Department was following him. Mm-hmm. He got video of them following him. Now, I told Damian on a post to step back and think about what they're doing. Don't get out your game, okay? Because that's what they want you to do.
And that's what makes it even worse for him to threaten this other activist. Because if you know they're following you, you know they're waiting for any little mistake
so
you
they
make.
Can, right. And they was more than happy to serve that warrant, okay? Even when you look at it, those officers did not go there to arrest Damian. I'm going to call it like it is. They went there knowing that Damian, that's why they was grabbing the tasers.
They went there to retaliate.
That's why they was telling him to get out of the car instead of walking up to the car. And actually, as again, I'm going to say that the Euclid police chief owes the community an explanation of why he made this bad decision. And if he wasn't in on this decision, then any supervisor who took that warrant down to patrol and told these guys to go out there and do it. I don't blame the police officers to wouldn't do that. So you can't blame them. You have to blame management on this. This is all management problem.
But you know they handpicked the ones they wanted to do
It doesn't make a difference how they did it. Management made a bad decision because no matter what happened, if they arrested Damian and they didn't fight, if they arrested Damian and they had the altercation they had, the Euclid Police Department is going to get a black eye. Mm-hmm. There's no way that Euclid was going to win that situation. None whatsoever, okay? So that means the management should have already knew this is not going to end good for us. And it's not going to end good for them, okay? Because now they have poured gasoline down the streets, okay? And when they poured gasoline in the streets, one incident now from the police grabbing or doing something to somebody can turn into a police officer losing his life, another citizen losing his life, or the city of Euclid burning, okay? The church-based leaders, the county officials, the elected officials, just like the East Cleveland dump, they all now, this is not a Euclid problem. This is a regional problem, okay? Because the problem goes up to South Euclid, it goes to Cleveland Heights, it goes to Cleveland. All these young men now feel that the police officers are occupied army and out here putting their lives and beating on them.
Well, that's no different than they've been feeling. So what they did is they didn't help the matter.
Right. They didn't help it at all.
They didn't do anything to make any change.
And I'm going to say this right now. What happened to Damian is the same thing that happened in 1968 to a young man named Alman Evans. And July 27th, at 7:30 p.m., everybody better remember this, those militants stepped out on the street with the police and went uno, uno, and when somebody say, I do not care anymore, I'm willing to die, a lot of innocent people lose their lives. Mm-hmm. Lieutenant Leroy Jones, one of the nicest Cleveland police officers there was, lost his life that day for no reason. He'd have gave you the shirt off his back. He stopped officers from doing wrong. He didn't allow it on his shift, but it doesn't make a difference. Ernest Lavelle Rao, a black police officer, got shot up, okay, that day. They didn't care whether he was black or white, it was blue. They had automatic weapons, M1 carbines. Look at what's going on right now. AR-15s that they're leaving on trains. We're going to talk about that next week. Gun manufacturers leaving railroad cars full of AR-15s on the side of tracks open for gangs and anybody to break in and steal in inner cities. Okay? So they can get paid by insurance money to boost their profit. Okay? That's for real, folks. Now, I'm going to go back to Euclid, like I said. You can't blame the officers that did it, but you have to blame management. Now, there's two questions that should have been asked the chief owes the community. One.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you can't blame that one officer for throwing those
Nope,
punches.
nope. You can't blame nobody. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this to Damien.
He's responsible for his own
no,
self-control.
No. He ain't responsible.
Just like Damien was responsible for making that threat.
Tone. No, because
I get what you're saying.
Had the chief and elected officials made a good decision, those officers would have never been put in that place. So I'm not going to put the blame for their arrest on what they did. Yes, I told you earlier, if Amiat was wrong for what he did,
which he was,
then that officer who punched Damien in the head 3 times is wrong.
And he is.
Because you had 3 officers on top of Damien. Damien was not throwing no punches. He was subdued. He was face down. They didn't say that he had any guns. They wasn't worried about his guns. They was worried about what he said on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to make a point to him. Okay, and that point was, we are the police. You don't mess with us. Mm-hmm. You're going to learn. Mm-hmm. That's the message they sent. Mm-hmm. You're going to learn today, Damian Parker. You don't do this. That's why they walked up to this car the way they did. Mm-hmm. Okay? The proper decision should have been, and this is where I'm going to, so don't cut me off right here. The proper decision that the Euclid officials should have made, those 3 officers that was there, I'm not putting the blame on them for what they did. They told Damien to get out of the car. He didn't. He had a reason not to get out of the car. His thing was they've been following him and they've been threatening him. He thought, he didn't know he had a warrant. He thought that these officers was coming to beat him because of his activities. Mm-hmm. Okay? They should have been understanding that that was his thinking. They knew that was his thinking. Those officers did one thing that tells me right then they wasn't even worried about Damian Parker. You know why? Because when the officers walked up to the car, not one of them had a .40 caliber Smith & Wesson in their hand. They said Damien's on Facebook with weapons. They said Damien resists arrest all the time. They say Damien is a danger. Remember, they said that's why they took the warrant, because he was a danger to society and public. Okay? Look at every video of any police officer in this day and age getting out of a car, approaching somebody. The first thing you see them is with a gun in their hand. Mm-hmm. Okay? Period. Don't take my word for it. Go watch every police video. The first thing you see is them get out their car with a gun in their hand. I was trained. That's the last thing you put in your hand. Okay? If they thought that Damien was a threat, that Damien was a veteran that was off the hook, he was a martial arts suspect, and he was going to kill, they would have not walked up to Damien's car like they was selling ice cream.
Right.
Look at the video, folks. You heard it on the thing. The first thing they told to Damien, what's up? Get out the car. Damien's under the impression that he posted on his Facebook page, and he posted videos that the Euclid police was following him and trying to intimidate him, okay, and making threats to him. They're on his Facebook page. Well, we know he was correct when he said they was on his Facebook page watching him, because guess what happened? They quoted in a report what he put on Facebook, okay? So I'm going to go back to this situation that you knew this confrontation was going to happen. Just like Sunday, we know the Browns is going to lose, okay?
I thought I was going to have to say it for you.
No, you ain't going to say it for me, but I'm going to say it. So Stevie Wonder seen this. So everybody, let's just be for real with it. The NAACP, all the activists, everybody. Everybody knew when Euclid put up on Damien, there was going to be a confrontation, okay? And that confrontation was not going to end well for Damien or a police officer. But when you got 3-1, 4-1, it was not going to end well for Damien.
So you think since they knew going there that there was going to be a confrontation, that's why they didn't get their guns out? Because they didn't want to kill him. They didn't want to look that bad.
No.
They knew they were probably going to rough him up.
Well,
but
no.
they against, no matter what, they didn't want to kill him.
Let me tell you what
Even
they
though they wanted to,
well,
they didn't want
Let me tell you what they knew. Let me
rep.
tell you what they knew. A good lawyer is going to break this down, and that's what I told you. Most of the charges are going to be dismissed, and I'm calling it the way it is. This is Stop the Madness, Keep It 100. I'm a 32-year veteran in law enforcement. I'm calling it the way it is. Any law enforcement officer sitting here, from Chief Calvin Williams all the way to Pete Elliott on the Marshals, is going to tell you the same thing. They knew if I send my officers to pick somebody up, and we already have a confrontation. Gasoline's already been poured. Okay, he's walking in the police department, calling the chief out. He called the chief out already. No police officers has respect for the chief. Okay, he got a police officer fired. Okay, you know he's telling you if these officers come up on me, I'm going to protect myself, and we're going to do it. Mm-hmm. He told the chief that standing in City Hall. Mm-hmm. I'm going to. Your SWAT officers, send your SWAT guys to me. We're going to do this. He meant that. If it was one-on-one, he probably would have handled his business, okay? He meant that. So they knew that, okay? If they was worried about him being on Facebook with an AR-15, why didn't you have SWAT go get him, okay? See, this is where I said public officials making irresponsible decisions.
But refresh my memory. Didn't he have his AR-15 with him at City Hall?
No, he didn't. But he put it on Facebook. But what I want to say is this, before I lose my train of thought. Irresponsible decisions by our public officials. This is why they have to be held. This is why the chief of police have to answer questions. They need to be in city council answering these questions. And if he cannot satisfactorily answer the question, the mayor needs to ask for his resignation, because he has put the city of Euclid back on the burner seat again. And I'm going to go through this, so give me a minute before you cut me off right there, because Saxman's probably come. They knew this confrontation was going to happen. They might have had to kill this man. They knew anything that happened in this confrontation, Euclid was going to get a black eye. I don't care what they did, they was going to get a black eye, because it looks like, just what you just said, that they're retaliating against an activist who embarrassed the chief nationally wide on a thing. Plus, a police officer was terminated because they never acted that fast or did anything under this incident. Mm-hmm. The chief should have did two things, and this is where I'm going to break it down to. One, the prosecutor did not issue a warrant for Damien Parker. And they didn't issue that warrant for Damien Parker for a reason, because they wanted to put it on somebody else. So they took the extra step of taking this guy, the activist, who came to them and said, hey, Damien Parker threatened me. So they took him before a judge who don't like Damien Parker too. I'm gonna put it right here, okay? Because Damien Parker in her courtroom, and Damien Parker on social media, Damien Parker said that she don't care about nobody, she ain't good about nobody, she got to go, okay? She had a hearing. They made a judge says there's probable cause for this arrest warrant to be made, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you this. When this arrest warrant was done, they didn't tell the mayor. I'll guarantee you the mayor didn't know that this arrest warrant was done until after they went to serve it. This is where the police chief has to answer. Because what the police chief should have did, okay, he should have been a man about this. He knows Damien is in the community. He's being followed by millions of people. He's a strong activist for police brutality. He has a problem with the Euclid Police Department. They have this nucleus that they're gonna fight. What he should have did was picked up the telephone and called the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Office, okay, an outside agency, and called the sheriff and said, hey, we got this one on this activist. I don't want to send my guys over here, because if I do, we might end up killing him. Can you send your guys down there, pick him up, take him to the sheriff's thing, and do it? If they had to arrest him, what reason was there to immediately arrest Damien over threatening another black activist? Okay? Right. They don't even arrest other people that quick. Okay, you got murderers or people, they don't even arrest them that quick.
Right.
Damien is not a threat to the community as they trying to say he is, okay? If more, the community is with him, okay? Now, this activist that this Robert Montgomery, he has the right to be safe, and he has the right to file charges and all that. So the police chief should have called the sheriff department and had the sheriff department go down. If he didn't want to call the sheriff department, he should have called the U.S. Marshals arrest team. The U.S. Marshals would have been more than happy to go pick Damien up. If you really wanted to do it the proper way, okay, he'd have went to the mayor's office and told the mayor, Mayor, we got this warrant for your boy Damien, and we're going to arrest him. They had Damien's number, okay? I'm pretty sure if somebody from the mayor's office would have called Damien Parker and told Damien Parker, we have a warrant for your arrest for the incident that took place in City Hall with this other activist, okay? We want you to come down to the sheriff department or come down to City Hall and turn yourself in. I'm pretty sure Damien Parker would have came down to City Hall and turned himself in. And you wouldn't have this problem, okay? Now, we went out to the streets, and I'm going to say this right here. I remember reading about Almond Evans and what happened in 1968. I remember reading about the CORE program. I remember that they brought weapons from Carl Stokes. Okay, this is a far-reaching. Everybody need to go read the book, The Shootout Between the Militants and the Cleveland Police Department. They need to understand what started this shootout. It started on somebody in the community being roughed up on arrest. Okay, now I already told you that those officers that arrested Damien, I'm not blaming them for anything. Okay, so all the police officers out there and the thing, no, those officers did their job. Those officers knew that they was going to have to do that. They did their job. I'm blaming officials higher up for even putting them in that position. Because had they killed Damien right now, the city of Euclid would be in flames. The city of Cleveland may be in flames. Okay? South Euclid, East Cleveland, Cleveland may be in flames. They're better armed than the police officers are. I went out into the community of the city of Euclid this week. I talked to the young men in the park. I went up into the sections, okay, where people don't go. The brother went out there. I talked to young men. When a young man tells me that he fears a police officer and fears that he would die if he comes in encounter with a police officer, we got a serious problem. I'm going to call it the way it is. We have a serious problem. Because when these young men tell me, sitting in the park, that they feel if a law enforcement officer approached them, they have to do something to protect their lives. You understand what that means? That means that they don't fear that police officer coming to help them, and they don't fear death. They fear they're going to get beat. They fear they're going to get killed. They fear either I'm going to kill him or he's going to kill me, okay? And I'm going to tell you this for everybody who's listening to me. Don't pass me off and don't pass this off as, oh, we just talking, oh, everybody on the police. No, we're not talking and everybody's not on the police. We're telling the faith-based people, all the city government, we're telling the council, we're telling the judges, we're telling the preachers, we're telling the fathers, we're telling the mothers. It's time that everybody gets together, go into Euclid City Hall, and stop the madness, okay? Because there will be another incident between a Euclid police officer and another young black male. You cannot control law enforcement, okay? The chief cannot control it. When they had control of it, they didn't make the proper decisions to stop this from happening to Damien Parker. Now that this has happened, the young men are saying, this is why I'm not putting them on the audio of talking to them, because I don't want to put them on Facebook Live and the radio, because somebody may recognize them or recognize who they are and then go get a warrant on them, okay? How many police officers out there has given a person a ticket for spitting on the street? I'm serious about that. You're in the chat room right now. Tell me when the last time you cited a person for spitting on the sidewalk. First, tell me when have you ever looked at a person spitting on the sidewalk, okay? You know why young males are getting tickets for spitting on the sidewalk in the city of Euclid? Because they have went back to the broken window policies. Okay? And they went back to those policies because Michael Amiot was held accountable for an incident, and they fired him. They fired Michael to try to solve the problem. If you was going to solve the problem and fire him, then why are you allowing more gasoline to be poured on the fire? Okay? Euclid right now is a hotbed. Our law enforcement man should be coming into the studio. We got lawyers in there, and the hotbed is that they failed to properly make that decision, Tom. Give us a call. 866-484-7865. That's 866-484-7865. That's 866-484-7865. Get out of the Facebook chat room. Give us a call and let the America know how you feel about Euclid, the election, and the East Cleveland dump. I know the chat room's fired up. D Nose is in there talking to everybody. Saxman, we getting ready to talk to you about that. Tone Stone, can you hit that for me and grab the man in? I want to say this. I want y'all to call us, okay? Get on the phone with us. Tell us what you think about. We are a internet radio show and web-based show. Everybody's in the chat room. We love you and appreciate you about that. Now, as I was saying earlier, Damian Parker has to understand that social media can be your best enemy or it can be your best partner, okay? What you put on social media do count. If you threaten somebody on social media or you make them feel that you threaten and you're a target, you can get a warrant issue for that. We know right now the warrant is issued off a Facebook media post and an incident that happened in the courtroom. None of the activists would have been in the courtroom had two young males not got a ticket for spitting on the sidewalk. Okay? We want to go right back to this about that decision that should have been passed off. And there's video. Watch the video and then tell us what you want to think about. Now we're going to go to the Cleveland Police Department on their Bias Base Policing GPO. This is a 10-part series that we are doing. I want to go back to the big news is that a federal judge is having a hearing next week for Michael McGrath, the safety director, to come into court and tell him what is happening, why police complaints are not being properly addressed. But before we do that, we're going to take a quick break real quick so our West Coast stations can come back in with us.
You've been tuned in to Stop the Madness, keeping it 100 on STMK Radio 100. And now back to your host one more time, Sean L., Let, and Tone the Star.
Hey, we back live right now here in Studio 51. And in the hot seat is our man on the beat. Saxman is in the studio. Saxman, what's up with you? You always late. We went over Damian Parker thing, Saxman, and the chat room went in, and as usual, everybody went to their sides. I said earlier, I don't blame the police officers that went to arrest Damian Parker for that incident. I blame their supervisors and officials. That arrest should have been passed off to somebody else.
My opinion, I understand why they did it. I understand why they did it because it was the warrant was issued through their city. The complaint was from someone in that city. So
okay.
They felt they needed to go in and handle it. But I understand what you're saying. It could have been someone else other than Euclid, because Euclid it's a heated situation already between them, Damian Parker. So if they would have went there and beat him down or had to shoot and kill him, it'd have been like, well, Euclid went there in retaliation. That's what people would have immediately.
It was a lose-lose situation for them.
Oh, my bad. So they would have thought that's what they came in to do.
Right, and they see. I don't care if the warrant was in your city or not.
Mm-hmm.
They knew they was going to have that confrontation.
Well, they knew because he already said if any of the Euclid cops come at me on a bogus stop or arrest, I'm going to resist. He already said that.
And he believes in the Ohio law that if the police is making an unauthorized arrest or illegal arrest, citizens can resist.
Exactly.
And the law says that.
Mm-hmm.
So he has that belief.
Mm-hmm.
But I go back to what I told everybody before on the last show we did about activists.
Mm-hmm.
Activists think they know the law, but what happens is when a police officer, when you're driving, it's a whole new different situation, okay? That's why they caught him in the car, because they told him to step out. Once they told him to step out, regardless of what it is, by law, he has to step out of the vehicle.
Right.
Okay? So they knew where they was taking him to. But the chief also knew that he should not allow them to take him there. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. They should have caught him. And like I said, if they would have called him up, I'm pretty sure he would have went in and turned himself in.
So I'm a little confused. You said by law he has to step out the vehicle.
That's correct.
Yes. What if he feels concern for his safety?
Okay, wait a minute. The state of Ohio says, and I'm going to say this for the 99th time, that's why Sandra Bland was arrested. And nothing happened to that officer.
That wasn't Chicago. I mean, that wasn't
That
Ohio.
was Texas. It's across the federal law. The Supreme Court.
So if you feel concerned for your safety, you have to. You can't ask for a supervisor first before you get out the car. You can't ask for somebody to make you feel more comfortable.
She wasn't under any danger. What?
Hey, wait a minute, Sax. He asked a question.
Okay.
So let's clarify. The United States Supreme Court has ruled,
which covered the entire country.
Mims versus Pennsylvania is the case that everybody need to look at. When a law enforcement officer tells you to exit the vehicle, whether he's lawfully doing it or unlawfully doing it, he doesn't need a reason. He doesn't have to tell you why. You're required to exit the vehicle. Okay. If you refuse to do that, that alone is an arrestable offense.
Okay.
So, to answer your question, yes, when he says get out, you get out. Okay? And he can search your interior of your car. Okay.
The only people that don't
without a
understand
warrant.
Without a warrant.
Tone, the only people who don't understand that is you Google lawyers.
Hold on, Sax.
You Google lawyers don't understand.
Hold on, Sax. I'm not Google lawyers. So you telling me if an officer pulls me over for speeding, any traffic violation,
he can take you out of your car and search the interior of your car
with no probable cause.
He doesn't need probable cause.
Come on, that sounds crazy.
No, it's not crazy. You better read the law.
Crazy.
It only sounds crazy to those that don't understand the law.
That sounds crazy.
See, this is the problem here,
That
Tone.
sounds crazy.
Tone.
So he can make up a reason to pull me over though. So you're saying he can make up any reason to pull me over, tell me to get out my car and search my car with no probable cause, no warrant or anything
your
like that.
argument. Wait a minute. Your argument is only good in the court of law.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
on the street it don't matter.
It doesn't matter. If you read,
but okay, I know what you're saying. To ensure your safety, ensure that you not killed or harmed, just comply. That's what you're saying. But
right.
I'm saying, what I'm asking you is he in the right to
Yes.
search
Also,
with no probable cause?
Also, the safety of the officer.
Yes.
You could be sitting in there with an arsenal of weapons in
Well,
that.
well it's not even that. Sax women. No, you could be refusing the law. It's not even that. Don't even go to anything except you got stopped on a red light, and the officer told you to step out of the car. By law, he can make you step out of the car. He can search the interior of your car, any unlocked compartments. If you have a reach in for your trunk, he can search all that you have control of. That's the ruling of the United States Supreme Court, the state of Pennsylvania versus Mills. Okay, so if you refuse, whether he can arrest you or not, if you refuse to get out of the car, that could be your charge for arrest. Okay, and you could get 2 charges, maybe 3 charges, like they did Damien: obstruction of official business, resisting arrest, refusing the lawful order of a law enforcement officer. Okay,
and not to mention the actual infraction he might have pulled you over.
Well, he doesn't have to pull you over for anything.
Well, this is
Tone don't want to hear that.
But no, Saxman.
No, because see me, I'm used to them telling me to get back in my car, because
Saxman,
I'll get out the car and walk up on the police
what
car.
you have to do,
you gonna get hit.
Wait a minute, Saxman. Hold on for a minute.
You gonna get shot walking up on my car.
No,
Hey, what you
I've
pulled
done
me over
this.
for?
I've got up to while they were sitting there
Tone,
writing the
you
ticket.
walked up
I've
to
got
my
out my
car.
car and walked up to their car.
Tone, if I pulled
they had
you
to tell
over
me to
and
get
you
back
got
in the
out
car.
the car and start walking towards me, you are a threat to me.
No.
Yes, you
Hey,
are.
No, you don't make him get back in the car.
This is actually has happened
But
to me.
Tone, forget that, because let me say this: we and Saxman, chill back down for a minute, because we have actual young men listening to this show. Okay. We joke a lot. Okay, but some issues you can't joke on. And we don't want to go personal what you do, because that's what makes the chat room come back, because they feel that you violating people's rights. But what we're talking about here is the United States Supreme Court ruling Mims versus Pennsylvania, where you asked the question, and we're telling you and the other activists and everybody else that if an officer asks you to step out of the car, he doesn't have to give you a reason. And once you step out of the car, he has the right to search your car without a warrant.
Well, that sounds like an unconstitutional law and
well, it can't be unconstitutional, Tony, because you have to understand something. If the United States Supreme Court
just because they say it don't make it right, though.
But they are the court of the land.
But that don't make it right, though.
But it doesn't. We're not talking about right or wrong.
Okay.
You in society, when society tells, see, this is the problem right here with young men. You are a classic example. When society tells you a rule and say this is the rule, regardless what you think about the rule, you have to obey the rule.
You were living in the land of laws, man.
Okay, so it doesn't make a difference if you feel it's right, you feel it's wrong. Once the highest court in the land says this is it, that's it.
But see, I don't like the way you point out. They say it's the problem with young men like me, because the police get away with it all the time. They break the laws, and the courts and the government cover up for them.
Okay, but let me tell you this question right here, Tom. Okay.
So it's obviously a problem with old people too.
But let me explain this to you. If 2 wrongs don't make a right, okay, and if you're going to compound the problem, okay, not one time is a law enforcement officer coming to help. You got 20 to 1. Okay, let's get real with this. Okay, let's stop the craziness. Let's stop the madness with you and Sax, because the bottom line is this. Okay, if you have a confrontation with a police officer that's Tony Howard, Tony Stone, and Diamond Boy, versus
90,
14 or 20 police officers, there's no win.
Yeah, I've been there, done that. I learned from experience. So I'm not saying what saying what I do or what I would do. I'm just asking the question, and I'm telling you that, and maybe you don't want to admit it, or maybe you don't think so, but that law is unjust. That's an unjust law.
Okay, now say unjust law. Okay, but don't say it's not, because again, we live in a society where everything goes to the United States Supreme Court or Ohio court. Each court, if you know society, each court has a level, and when you get to that level, okay, if the common pleas court say the municipal court was wrong, then the appellate court says that the common pleas court was wrong, then your appellate court judges say if the appellate court wrong. But once the United States Supreme Court says something, that's the law of the land, whether you like it or not, whether the police like it or not. And it goes both ways. It cuts both ways. If they say that you're not guilty of a crime, you're not guilty of that crime, okay? But the problem we have is we don't want to learn the law, okay? That's what hurts most activists.
Well, I think there's a lot of activists that actually do know the law and study the law. You know, maybe not. You know, the young guy like Damian Parker, I don't know his background or whatever.
We're not gonna bring Damien in that.
If that's what you want to talk about.
But
before we switch the subject, or before we go off on a tangent, I want to say that, you know, when it comes to the law, people, judges, politicians, police officers, high-ranking police chiefs or whatever, commanders, they maybe not, excuse me for lack of a better term, make the law up as they go, but they do what they want to do within the confines of their city hall and their courtrooms and their police district, their police station. They don't abide by the law tooth and nail.
That's true.
And I know that from experience. I know that from a fact.
But that's true too. But guess what? Everybody has an option to question their ability. The show that we're going to do about random license plate checks, okay, with the late Mayor Eric J. Brewer, okay, he claims that the police are illegal. When he had a right, when he was convicted and done all that, he went to appellate court and he challenged all that, okay?
Twice.
Right. You have a right to challenge everything and question it. Nobody's saying that courts are right. Nobody's saying judges are right. Nobody's saying police officers are right. Nobody's saying activists are right. What we're saying is that you need to know the law so when an officer pulls you over for a red light, you're not compounding the problem.
Right.
Because your arrest may be not for actually what you're being arrested for. It may be for what you didn't do that was required by law to do.
Exactly.
Okay.
I understand
like
that.
showing your driver's license. Driving in the state of Ohio is a privilege. It's not a right. Okay. But I want to go off of that for a minute because I want to go back with the federal judge making Michael McGrath coming into court and explaining why the police officer complaint system is taking 2 or 3 years to handle complaints against police officers. We're doing a 10-part series, everybody, on bias-free policing. And we have police officers in the chat room. We have police officers here. And there's a couple of things I want to get to before we get off the air because we stayed on Damian Parker a little too long. And now we're just going to have to put this to the back thing. Last week, Tony, you talked about bail reform. We didn't get up to that. But what's happening right now, we're going to talk about this. And this is a case out of Cleveland, Ohio, where a judge ruled something that you just talked about. RTA had police officers boarding the red line, checking fares, and checking bus passes. Okay? A judge ruled that was unconstitutional. Okay? That police officers cannot randomly walk up to somebody and ask for a bus pass.
Right.
The ACLU, and I got Saxman here because he went around with it, but I want to say this. The ACLU did a study in 87 cities out of 400 cases in each city, and it was found the same, that the police were only stopping young people. They were only we're going to talk about 4 cities: San Francisco, Seattle, Cleveland, and Atlanta. In Seattle, it's not a color issue because it was all white. Okay, they were stopping young hippie-looking people or people they thought was activists. Okay, which is bias policing. Okay, the judge ruled it's unconstitutional because it's a violation of the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 14th Amendment of unreasonable search and seizure. Now, the judge ruled that if they get a ticket taker like you, you can get on the bus because you're not a law enforcement officer and walk up to somebody and say, "May I see your bus pass?"
Right. Something they used to do back in
on
the
the
day.
trains and stuff like that.
That was a long time ago.
But police officers cannot do it because they
not even the transit police.
Not even the transit police. The ruling came out of the City of Cleveland Court. Judge Emerald Groves laid it clear out, and she even gave them the way to fix the thing. The problem with the Cleveland case is that they were only doing it on the red line. And everybody know the health line.
The health line, right.
And everybody know where the health line is.
Right.
Public Square to the middle of East Cleveland. Okay. So you know who they was only checking.
Right.
Okay. They lost 4 cases, and RTA now is in the middle of a multi-million-dollar lawsuit that the taxpayer is going to be held accountable for unconstitutional acts. Okay. When the ACLU conducted their study, they found a pattern of race-based stopping. And it doesn't make a difference what city they did it in. In San Francisco, we're talking about Mexicans and Chinese, okay, and young people. Any young person, okay? They wasn't stopping the elderly people, okay? In Cleveland, they was only doing it on the health line. In Atlanta, they was only doing it in the modern section of the inner city, okay? And Seattle, which is all white study, it was only doing it to people that they thought was hippies and over there, okay? That is a serious court ruling that came down because that's going to affect over 940 cases in the city of Cleveland alone. San Francisco could be in the thousands. Seattle in the thousands. Atlanta in the thousands. Okay, all the people that were stopped and given tickets prior to these rulings now having their convictions overturned and has a chance to sue the taxpayers. So yes, bias-free policing is something that's coming to every city across America. Okay, and I want to say this right just before we go, is that if they don't police themselves, somebody's going to police them for them. And next week, we're going to go back into our part 5 of bias policing. Saxman got here late. The Euclid situation, the NAACP, and a lot of people are on top of that. They need to sit down and they need to talk. I said again that the chief of police need to give a good reason why he put his officers in that position. If he can't, the mayor need to ask for his resignation because he has lost all respect. Okay, and if the chief wasn't informed, whatever supervisor that did that, the chief need to fire. Okay, I'm gonna say that. But Tony Stone, I'd like to thank the hat lady, Ohio State Go, for our hats and everything.
He got a new hat every weekend.
Ohio State.
And me and Tone ain't got one.
Facebook Live, I'd like to thank you for being with us. YouTube, I'd like to thank you for being with us. And Tone, it's that time.
Is big, I can't lose. Sugar bow down, I'm the next to rule, but I'ma stay on the cool, remain on the under, cause like Andre 3000, your boy's ice cold. Ain't no limit to the gimmicks and ways to make money. No limit to the just to act funny when you get that cake, cause you spit that way. They may love you tomorrow when they hate you today, but yo, that's the way the story goes, so I was told. Following the rainbow down the yellow brick road, please believe at the end ain't no pie to go. Just some platinum beats from the Cleveland streets.
Tone the Stone and Diamond Boys with us. Tone, what you want to say to our good people before we start shutting down?
Good people, thanks for listening. Keep on listening. We're going to keep on bringing it to you, the real, and stopping our madness as much as we can. Tune in next time. We'll see you same time, same place next week.
Saxman is in Studio 51 playing hooky. Came in late, everybody. Y'all didn't get to roast him a little bit. Sax, what's up with you?
He better be glad I came in late because I had some words for Tone today.
Well, next time get here a little earlier.
I'm in the middle of a few things, man. I'm making transitions.
Okay, well, you handle your business. Hey, I'm your host, Sean L. Facebook Live, YouTube, Snapchat, to our 17 cities, Savannah, Oakland, California, San Francisco, Tempe, Arizona, and Houston, Texas, John Shock down in San Antonio. Hey, we thank y'all for coming on Facebook. We thank y'all for coming on YouTube Live. We thank y'all for coming in the chat room and making us the best talk show on the web. Next week, we're going to talk about bias policing. We're going to continue that. We got a 10-part series. We're not done yet. We're going to go into some things for our national audience. And I thank everybody for giving us the love. And to the hat lady, next week, got something else new for you.
I want one.
Okay. I'm your host, Chanel. Till next time, peace, love, and happiness. See ya.
You've been listening to Stop the Madness, Keep It 100 on STMK Radio 100.